A busy morning of qualifying continues here at Sonoma Raceway in California wine country. Great to have you all with us. It's time for the first of the two quick qualifying sessions for the Pirelli GT4 America Sprint X Championship. A couple of changes to the format this year for this category, and one of them is actually how qualifying is done. Two drivers in the cars, a mandatory driver change during the race. And Cal, instead of having the second race grid being determined by a fast lap in that first race, it's now got its own qualifying session.
Yeah, which I think is really a great addition to the championship format, because last year, if you had a poor start to that first race,
right,
you could potentially not get any points, and then you're on the back foot for the second day as well. So we take a quick look at this racetrack. It's 2.4 miles in length, 12 turns. Starts off very challenging as you climb the hill there into that first sector. Big bump on the entry to turn one, then lots of elevation change, low grip race circuit, lots of bumps, old asphalt. It's going to be tough on tire degradation. It's going to be a big challenge here this weekend.
Something that's always struck me about this, you look at that track layout, it looks challenging enough if it were flat, as we have a problem here for the 24 of Gannett. But yeah, the track looks like it'd be challenging enough flat, and then the elevation changes that are so abrupt here are huge. That's not a good place here. You can see he's got, not sure if that's just a turn signal indicator that he's got on, but something has gone wrong for the number 24, G3 in late, right at pit out, right at turn in, heading up the hill.
Well, these were back-to-back sessions, yeah. So Frank just got done with the qualifying run in the sprint format, so hopefully Ian Lacey and the crew can get to that car and get him back out there. Nice lap. Even with a red flag is out, so no times have been set. But this is a car, TRG, multi-car operation. This is their home base. Kevin Woods has certainly been very impressive, has a good background in this type of machinery as well, Greg.
Oh, he does. In the what they call the Pirelli Trophy GT4 West Championship, he just decimated the Platinum, the top tier category last year, and the team said, well, you're ready to take the step. And you think about it, they had a very solid run at the opening race for the Pirelli GT4 America Western Regional part of the series at Circuit of the Americas, but then they went to the second round out at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, and he and Chris Palomo were just phenomenal in this car. So I think it's been a while since we've seen them race, but I think they're going to surprise some people here this weekend with their pace. They've certainly got all the potential, there's no question.
Yeah, talking to Preston Calver actually yesterday, and he said Kevin is really quick, and Preston is a smart man, and he recognizes his competition is going to be tough here this weekend.
Yeah, coming in, obviously they have lots of motivation as they are leading in the points. He and teammate Matt Keegan for Team Panos Racing by 10 over John Allen and Chris Wilson in the Auto Technic Racing BMW. But they know that they're in the national championship hunt, Preston and Matt, but they're up against some of these Western regional competitors here who are very, very good. It's going to be interesting to see what unfolds here, because one of the teams that certainly everybody was thinking was going to be a front runner here, another of the Racers Group cars, the number 17 of James Rappaport and Derek DeBoer, had an incident yesterday, and they weren't sure that car was going to be able to be fixed. Was talking to Derek last night, Kevin Buckler in the Racers Group, of course, Kevin also Adobe Road Wines, and they had a really nice little soiree last night. I know you were at it too, and was chatting with Derek DeBoer, and he said, yeah, they're looking at the car, and he said, they started looking at it, and they said, not too bad, only about 10 things we have to look at. Then they got in a little deeper, and it's now 20. He said, now it's 25.
I think the big concern was the transmission, and apparently there wasn't one here on site, so I think Porsche Motorsports North America had to dig deep and get one transported up from LA area yesterday. So,
well, and he had told me, he said that if they couldn't get it fixed, he said, Kevin, after running at a sort of a vintage festival wine and racing thing last weekend here, apparently the bug bit, and he entered. They did a last-second entry with for Spencer Pompelli to run this, and Derek said that Kevin had said, if we can't get that car fixed, you've got ours. And I just saw that blue chassis with a 17 on it. So they may have opted to have to take that route as we watch Frank Gannett here in the number 24 on the hook. Never how you want to exit a racetrack.
Yeah, curious to know what happened, because
Yeah.
he just completed the sprint qualifying session. It should have just been an easy transition, but cars sometimes can get a little complex with the electronics, and now it sounds like he's got some life back in it. Guess that's a different car I'm hearing far up.
That's a good point. It could be.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like getting caught out by the replay. Exactly. So at that soiree, they had a little drawing.
And I finished second.
And you
again.
finished second again, but
I've had a habit of that in my career, Greg.
yes. Well,
Finished second 15 times in one season. You know?
That's an all-time record.
Yes,
right?
it was.
So, but this was the trophy for the second, not a bad one.
No, very tasty bottle of wine, which I'm hoping to share with some close friends tonight.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun. And Kevin, that group up in Petaluma, California, where his team is based, and their boutique winery, and they're in the process, just a couple months away now, they think, from opening their waterfront showroom there. So it's a big weekend for Kevin and the Racers group, and kind of throwing everything at it here, including Kevin crawling behind the wheel again. And you have to see.
John Miller there, very much up on the wheel early. Colin Mullen is gradually bringing some temperature into the Andretti Autosport McLaren there. New teammate for Jared Andretti. Very impressive young man.
Yes.
Represented Team USA over the season. And talking to Jared this morning about him, he said did a really nice job. First experience in a GT4 car of any kind, let alone this McLaren, was here on the test day a couple of days ago. So quick learner, and certainly a young man who's making a big impression on this sport.
He's done, as you said, some open wheel racing, and adept at that, as we watch the #2 of Jason Bell. Normally he runs a Porsche in the Sprint Championship with Global Motorsports Group. Huh, interesting.
Yes, I think Jason wants to start off a nice clean lap with no traffic. John Miller wants to get on with the program, so a little bit of a block. I guess he was proactive and not reactive to that, but Miller wants through.
You know, yeah, and I think that might be Safronis in the car, because it was actually Safronis and Bell.
Oh, that's right, yes.
We're teamed up for this one. I think James said, no, I've got some speed here.
The irony is that James is lower graded in terms of his rating than Jason, so good point, caught me out there.
Yep. And me too, and then I realized what was happening here, and I think Miller got up alongside and realized, oh. That's James's helmet. All right, I'll give him a little room and let him go.
Well, he was just trying to back up and set up his lap. Miller wanted to get on with the program, and so James said, you're going to screw up the whole deal here if I let you by into the last corner.
Ooh, wide there.
Wow. That was in the gray in more ways than one.
Yeah.
Just really pushed into the carousel, probably with that relatively soft warm-up lap.
Yes.
At the peak temperature and grip in those Pirelli P0s just yet, as James is really pushing hard. They really feel again with this circuit not being so needy of the top speed that this Audi might be in good shape here this weekend.
He sure had a heck of a lot of success in one last year, and this is one of those. Oh, that lap's going to get blunted here. This is coming up. That's on the 17, so they. Not the normal colors on that 17, so they put something together there, but nice to see. But Safronis now, if he's got a little room, he's got to finish this lap and then really start his flyer. If you remember, Jason Bell teamed up in this car with Alec Udell in the opening round of Circuit of the Americas, and then he hasn't done any Sprint X since. James did a race, teamed up with CJ Moses to do one at VIR, and they were looking to see if Alec wanted to run with Jason here again, and Alec had already committed to a coaching job with GT3 Cup competition at Montreal this weekend. Whoa, big moment for Safronis as he hangs on to it, but that's going to null that lap out. So Jason said, well, hey, what do you think, James? And James said, sure. And so that's how that program came together. We should probably give a shout out to Alec Udell, who has been running in the European GT4 series. And at the third round of the championship, after getting a couple of podiums earlier in the year at Paul Ricard, he and his teammate Simon Knapp, 2 wins and a pole. And so he's flying the colors over in Europe, doing a very nice job as well. As we look at Chris Wilson for Auto Technic and Roll Tide.
Well, Chris is the ultimate pro, just a great mentor and coach and co-driver for John Allen. And he put in some great runs, has led some races this year. And as you know, he's always up on the wheel and ready for the challenge. Right now, he gets demoted down to the 3rd position in this qualifying session so far. Shimshak goes to the top, followed by Kozarov. Fast times are coming in fast and furious right now.
And we're used to this season seeing that orange Mercedes from Murillo Racing with Christian Shimshak behind the wheel, but not his co-driver, who throughout the season so far, it's been Matt Fosnot. He's not here this weekend, and Kenny Murillo is the driver who's sharing now and putting this program together, sort of doing a late start to the Western Regional Championship for that car.
Well, they're based not too far away, and they thought, what a shame not to be competing here. So when Matt couldn't make this weekend, Ken Murillo, his dad, Kenny's dad, said, let's get the car out there. And with Shimshak, they could put in a great run this weekend.
Yes, they could. Kenny's very quick. The younger of the two. Sitting second now, Matt Travis. And that is the car, the 47 NOLA Sport Porsche, that has just been decimating the National Pro-Am Championship this year.
Finally got beat.
Yeah, 5 straight wins.
They had to be beaten up a little bit for that to happen. But yeah, 5 consecutive wins, and then a little bit of argy-bargy at CTMP.
Yeah, got tinked, as they say. Here's Vesko Kozarov, who is running in the Western Regional Championship in the Pro-Am category, and Vesko was 3rd, just moved up to 2nd.
Fast hands there.
Yeah.
That little bumper really unsettles these cars. We said during that touring car qualifying session, those cars are not affected as much as these GT4 machines, and we'll certainly see the lower, more stiffly sprung GT3 machines really twitchy through that turn 1 section. I think Kozarov has given up this lap a little bit potentially.
He's such a smart, savvy driver. He realized that that twitch was going to cost him time. Don't hurt these tires. Just come around and throw down another lap. And he'd already moved up from 3rd to 2nd, so at what, a 145.5, so a 146.5, excuse me. So a bit off of Shimshak. That's a great lap by Shimshak.
Kozarov there in the Audi sits 2nd, and Sofronis is down in 9th right now. So we saw James really on the attack. Actually got Brad Kettler engineering in the camp this weekend. He's mainly working on their GT3 machine, which Sofronis double duty this weekend. He's going to be competing with Dirk Werner, a Porsche factory pilot, in the GT3 race as well.
It's nice to see some of the competitors we haven't had since WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, any Western regional competitors. So seeing Sarah Catania along with Owen Trinkler back in the number 43 car from Reardon Racing, the 38 ST Racing duo of Tan and Wolf, and in the team car, Miller and Harry Gottzacker. The 67 we talked about, Belomo and Wood, and the U.S. Racing Dynamics, Janetta of the Jeff Bader and Casey Dennis.
Yeah, so it was actually Belomo. Our timing and scoring screen had Woods in the car initially. He will take over for the 2nd part of this qualifying session. So essentially whoever's driving in this session right now will start race 1, and they will finish race 2, and then in the 2nd part of this qualifying session, that driver will then finish race 1 and start race 2. So you're basically qualifying for your start in the race, which I think is a really nice change in the regs for this year.
Good run here by Colin Mullen in the 36 Andretti Autosport machine here, sitting running now in the Pro-Am category, and he sits 3rd in Pro-Am in his debut, and not too far
here. I think he may see some traffic up ahead potentially, or he's pitting, one or the other.
Window World McLaren.
May just be setting up for another run at it. Yeah,
Looks
here we go. Okay, let's put it together here. Nice clean start to the lap. Don't charge this corner, just really focus on the exit, getting the power down early and clean. So it really starts up like a flying lap. Used to see that at Montreal where the Grand Prix cars are competing this weekend off that hairpin.
Yep. All right, let's follow him around, see what he can lay down. Best lap so far, 47.1. Little wiggle, but nice.
A little wide of the apex there, but maybe he's just trying to figure out a way around that bump there. Nice wide entry into that corner. That was beautiful.
There's the plummet down the hill. He got throttle early there. That was nice. A little compression right here, and then this long, long, long carousel. His tires are protesting, Cal.
Yeah. A bit angry there.
Interesting, you see these spots where there's these patches of dark, dark black. And compared to the rest of the track, the drivers are saying they offer up huge amounts of grip. So you're literally targeting those in some of the spots here to help assist you to get turned through the corner. And he hit every one of them beautifully.
He really did, and it's got to be a fun weekend for young Colin to make that transition up to a GT4 car for the first time, because these cars have so much more downforce and grip, so you're just exploring new boundaries compared to what you've raced before. Previous best is a 147.1, and as he peels in.
To the pits, yeah. He lost a little time in that second sector, and I think he realized.
Yeah, saw on the predictive that it wasn't going to happen. I think he'll be content, but maybe a little disappointed after his laps. He's second of the AM runners.
Right. Well, but you know, think about it. Look at the names that are in front of him.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's acquitted himself, I think, exceptionally well. When you got Chimchak, Kozarov, Travis, Wilson.
It's only 4/10 off the championship leaders, Travis. So
yes.
Still a very nice run.
I think so too. Here's the 43, Sarah Catania. They were slated to run, obviously, at the second event in the Western Regional Series at WeatherTech Raceway in Laguna Seca, and unfortunately they had a crisis in the family and couldn't make it. So it's been a long time since Sarah's been in the car. And talking with Owen Trinkler as well, and he said, just, you don't race in 4 or 5 months. He said, there's rust that's got to come off.
Right.
And every session, she's just been finding a little bit more speed in this rear Audi. Sofronis has moved up now into the top 9 overall.
Yeah, I expected
fourth
more,
in AM.
though.
I did too, yeah.
I thought he'd have been right up there in the sharp end, so see if he can put in a late flyer as the clock now runs out.
See if he's out and if he's on a lap. Doesn't look like he is.
He's on an out lap, but his first sector is not. Well, it's decent. It's actually a decent first sector. He might be able to do something. Not a personal best, but it's there.
It's one of those things, if you can literally find just a few tenths here, you can move up a row, and that's a big thing. Watching Sarah working through 7 and 7A right here.
That curb there that she just passed as we're in the drivers' meeting. The race directors were showcasing that is breaking up and creating these almost like rocks, and it's just the multi-layered paint that's been laid down over the years is breaking up a little bit.
It's just sort of chipping off of the curbing, isn't it?
That's right.
Which means it's very sharp-edged and the like, so it's been, as you said, a fair amount of time warning the drivers and teams to really be careful about that. All right. Here comes Sofronis. He is just crossing in front of Sarah. We'll see if any improvement.
No, just
Am I
looks
seeing
like
that right? His best lap was a 47.955. That one was a 47.996.
Yeah. So he was pushing. He was pushing, but I think that just showcases late in the going, it's tough to improve. I mean, you're just taking that real sweet spot out of the tire very, very quickly on this race surface.
Yes. It's just the way the aggregate sits on the track, you're literally running across the top of the aggregate. It's not like a very smooth. That's why those patches are so much grippier, is what everybody's saying. As you take a look at the provisional results for driver 1 qualifying. Again, these the drivers on the left of your screen are the drivers that will be starting the first race. The drivers to the right of them will be finishing, but they'll be starting race 2, and that's the group that will be out to qualify in just under 5 minutes at this stage. And we'll see what unfolds. And it's interesting, technically, if you've got a different rating of the drivers in the car, it's the lowest rated of the drivers in the car that should be qualifying in the first session that we just completed, the higher rated driver in the second one. But due to the idiosyncrasies of the driver rating programs, if you're rated the same, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And we get this scenario where, because of age, some of these drivers are rated the same as somebody with a lot less experience, and so they go out and they'll actually be the slower, like Kozarov, going out and putting in the he's rated the same as Burton, but boy, that comes home to roost in the second half of that second race.
Yes.
It makes a big difference. It's all about strategy, isn't it, in these Sprint X races?
It is, because you know, if you're like got the other end of the spectrum, if you do have your fast driver in alongside the less experienced group and you get a reset, suddenly you can really be in great shape. So it's a bit of a gamble, but everyone's trying to get at least one solid result out of these doubleheader weekends.
Exactly, exactly. Mr. Shimshak helping young Kenny Murillo behind the wheel of the orange Fuji Murillo Racing Mercedes. You know, not maybe a surprise to see that car right up at the sharp end of things. We've been marveling over the last couple of years, certainly in the GT3 camp, but also in GT4, that it is such a compliant car that seems to be able to handle hitting curbs, the surface changes and the like. It maintains its platform, but it just soaks everything up. And you would think on a track like this, with all these elevation and the curbing, but also the grip scenario, that the way that thing plants, that it would just maybe be an awfully good car around here.
Yes, it does seem to be a good fit, but I'll be honest with you, Greg, there don't seem to be any weak tracks for that car. So
that's a very good point.
That's it's not very often we go to a track and see the Mercedes at the back.
Yeah, yeah. And I would dare say that the driver combo in those, you know, plays a pretty good role as well.
What a picture that is.
Isn't it? It's nice, as we said, you know, usually we're here a little bit later in the year and it's a lot more golden and dry, and seeing some of the green here, this whole area is just stunning.
Well, it's funny sometimes, even whether it's on social media, you'll see a shot someone's testing in the off season. You're like, oh, what track is that?
Yeah,
that's like these green hills and.
Yeah, beautiful area. There's so much here. I mean, you can obviously Sonoma, Napa, up north. You head down toward the San Francisco, and you got Tiburon Peninsula. At the end of the peninsula is just stunning. The view across the bay, Sausalito, the Golden Gate, Muir Woods, just on the north side of the Golden Gate on the coast. Just an absolutely remarkable area, and this track is worthy of it in terms of challenge and the like. And here we go, qualifying for Pirelli GT4 America's Sprint X Driver 2. These are the drivers who will finish the first race and start the second race. And again, per the regulations, if you've got drivers with different ratings, it's the higher rated driver that should be out in this session.
Quick turnaround. It's almost like a hot stop.
It
Ready
is.
for this second segment of the Sprint X qualifying. Should be Kevin Woods now.
Yep.
Behind the wheel of the 67.
Keegan behind the wheel of the red 51 Panos, who really hit his stride last year, didn't he? The overall pole, I think, in Portland at one of the races. I mean, he really has become very, very quick.
It's where he started his racing career. I chatted to him yesterday, so I love this racetrack. Done many races here. Is where I got going. He's now based in California himself with his family. A little bit further south, though.
Another guy to watch here will be out the number 19 of Greg Leafouge for Stephen Cameron Racing. He is just a very talented driver, period, but this is home, and he's sort of a Sonoma specialist. Boy, he squared that up to get to the throttle as early as he could to start this flyer.
Tires should come in really quickly. If not this lap, certainly the next one. They should be right there, even though it's relatively early in the day. Ambient temps already into the 70s, so should be generating that tire temperature pretty quickly. And as soon as you start sliding the car around this race circuit, that's going to build everything up in terms of the pressures, which then relates to the ground clearance, the ride height of the car. Really nice job there through turn 4. Here you see some of that elevation change.
Yes.
Then it climbs the hill once again here into the entry to the carousel.
Ooh, problem spin for Andretti. Exit at 2, it looks like.
That's what it looks like. Got to be careful there because it is blind for everyone else, and certainly blind now for Jared to see the traffic climbing the hill. Ooh, you just, oh no, you're just holding your breath right there.
Yeah.
He's lucky. I mean, I'm assuming he's getting good communication from the corner workers.
Yes. Well, those intakes of breath I were giving were simpatico to the corner workers.
Maybe he could see through the apex as people climbing the hill and knew that he was okay to do the maneuver he did. So got to regroup. Hopefully he didn't damage those tires with that quick spin. The few mistakes we've actually seen Jarrett make this
That's
year.
very true, yeah. And that's one of the things, this track is a huge reliance on the corner marshals that for flags with all of the blind approaches and turn-ins. You know, and believe me, the marshals that work here are acutely aware of that and try and communicate immediately in any scenario with the oncoming traffic just for something like that.
Just needs to regroup here. Make sure those tires are cleaned off. Obviously, running off the road, you get in the dust. Tires didn't have a ton of temperature, but certainly they'd have picked up some of that debris. Make sure everything's cleaned off. You reset, just recalculate, and get ready to start this next flyer.
By the way, Baloma or Woods had just gone to the top at a 47.2, and Leah Fouge in the number 19 BMW went to a 46.4 and has provisional pole. And here comes runaway point leader in the Pro-Am category, the top category, Jason Hart for NOLA Sport.
Yeah, he's got first sector going, which is only 4 thousandths off for the best of Leah Fouge, so he's got a good lap going here. Team has done a great job of delivering these drivers a really well set up car every single weekend. And they've delivered with that opportunity.
All right. 111.9 through the second sector. Now nice, very tighty through the chicane.
Really good trap speed as well.
.47 currently way back. This is going to be his first serious flyer.
Yeah, he should leap well up the order here with this lap.
Keep an eye on him as he comes through. And will flash underneath the line. What does he do? Bang to the top, a 46.380 for Jason Hart in the NOLA Sport number 47. That is provisional pole. 31 1/1000ths of a second faster than Leah Fouge in the BMW. Murillo in the 34 Mercedes is third. How about that? Porsche, BMW, Mercedes.
Good
How about
parity
Panos now? Keegan jumps up to third, Cal.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. Oh, John Allen just off the road momentarily. And Hart had his personal best sector 1 and 2, went fastest sector 3. Now he's gone fastest sector 1, so I think his tires are just getting into that sweet spot, so he may be able to improve on this lap as long as they don't peak too far in this next hot one.
You can always tell where that Panos is on the racetrack. That big thundering Elan V8 underneath the hood. Keegan sitting third right now at a 46.493.
We talk about the fact that this racetrack is not so critical in terms of your top speed. This race car been very quick this year, but in terms of the end of the long straightaways, like we saw at TTMP, was definitely struggling a little bit. You're not going to have that factor here, so you know that Ian James in the sprint format, and both Preston and Matt Keegan here behind the wheel in this second segment of qualifying, of looking at this weekend as an opportunity to get big points.
It's a matter of not getting caught behind traffic here. See if he can clear that. And certainly, yeah, you're right. You know, straight line, not the best, but boy, that thing, when you go to the throttle, it's plenty torquey with that V8.
Hart improves his pole lap to a 46.2 as Keegan hits pit lane. So Hart about 1/10 of a second up on his previous best. Very consistent laps. Great performance once again by our championship leaders.
I wonder if Keegan, when he got up behind Woods, just realized that it had blunted enough of his speed that it just didn't make any sense and just bailed, because he sure seemed to be on it.
Yeah, he's P3 and only 2/10 off the pole time of Jason Hart, so it was close.
Yes.
And it's just that timing, just, you know, when the tires are at their peak, getting a clean lap and executing and laying it down.
Jason Wolf now has put in a very nice lap, jumping up to 4th overall, 3rd in Pro-Am, and fastest of the Western Pro-Am drivers. In the team car to the one we're watching, this is the number 28 now of Harry Gottsacker, who was on a flyer. He needs to find a little bit, sits 8th overall right now, but Wolf in the team car up to 4th overall at a 1:46.8 lap. Let's see what Harry can do. Currently at a 47.5, Cal.
Yeah, great driver pairing here, John Miller and Harry Gottsacker. Tremendous young driver, has been doing great things in GT4 machinery over the last couple of years. Still very young. Ooh, a little bit wide there. Had to get it back underneath him. Not the cleanest run through the carousel there.
A guy I'm kind of thinking is, not sure if he's out. I think he's out on the track. Is the number 43 of Trinkler. And yeah, here he comes by start finish. We're going to watch as we watch this. See, yeah, Trinkler down just moved. First time now he's made an appearance in the top 10, sitting 9th overall, and he certainly has the potential to be up in that top 5.
Gottsacker here has a lap going with no personal best, so I can't imagine he's going to improve on that 47.5 he has. About 1.3 seconds off the pole right now, 8th overall.
And according to our tracker here, it says he's 2 seconds off of,
yeah, he just bailed on
the pole lap. So we'll see. Looking at this next group that's coming through here, see if Wolf can improve.
Yeah, Keegan had a pretty good lap going, as you mentioned, Greg. He's personal best in Sector 1, best trap speed, personal there. So maybe that traffic at the end, he just decided, you know what, it's not enough. They have a predictive on the dash so they can gauge whether they can keep pushing.
Well, it looked like he caught Woods right in the braking area for the chicane, and I'm sure he could tell pretty much immediately, like, yeah, that if it did, that had just blunted that whole lap. So Murillo moving well out of the way.
The trouble is when you get that far out of the way, you're picking up dust and debris to start a lap. Oh, he's hit. There we go. Okay, hopefully those tires are clean and ready to go.
Yeah. He certainly knows this track. This car has got all the potential. This should be a fun one to watch, and he's got, looks like, plenty of clear track. Little wiggle there, yeah, that's it.
See, I was worried about it. I'm not saying that's why he ran wide, but when you run that far offline to get out of the way of traffic, and then you just got to commit to that turn 1, you need everything
exactly
right where it needs to be. Still time on the board. He can still regroup. If he feels the tires have still got some performance left to create that peak lap, he can just cruise here and not take anything out of them, and just try and set up and, you know, look in your rearview mirrors a little bit earlier towards the end of the lap. Make sure you're not going to impede anyone, and then sort of like get on with your program.
It's a case of him being as he is a great young man, being just a little too gentlemanly. Well, he's got time, as you said, and behind him on the track is the 43 of Trinkler. And I'm not sure, watching Owen here, looking to see not a huge first sector.
No, that's not going to cut it.
Yeah. So I wonder if he is thinking of one last lap as well. He's behind.
I think Murillo will be going for another one. Okay, now he just needs to start to build some speed, get those tires clean.
He's sitting right now 5th, so he'd certainly like to be a little bit farther up. This will be the telltale. Yeah, he's not pitting. Oh, and then he decides to.
He's just teasing us, Greg.
Yeah.
He's listening.
The crew's listening, going, mess with him, mess with him. And Trinkler follows him in, so those were two drivers. And I think what we're looking at here is this is that evidence of just how much this track's taken out of the tires, isn't it?
Yeah, you just fit, and it's tough as a driver because you may feel the car's got really good balance, and you think this is a really good lap. It's hard to really determine that last little 0.1 or 2% of grip. So you think the car's good. I've executed. I've nailed all my marks. I've run the big radius through a corner. Everything feels good. And you look down, it's like the grip's just not there, which means the lap time is not there.
Yeah. So, we'll follow Casey Dennis around in the USRD, the US Racing Dynamics Ginetta. Car that was really fun to watch when in the last Western regional round at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. And I talked to the team earlier. I said, after what we saw Crookspeed do with theirs at CTMP, you must have been licking your chops. And he said, yeah, we were. And then they made a little
miscommunication going on there. Now he has to bail, and he's not going to have enough time to get back around and start another lap.
No, and if the problem is that if he really goes for the lap, he's going to catch Allen again. That's frustrating. I think they're back farther than they anticipated, let alone would want to be.
John Allen can complete this lap and improve on his current lap time of 1:53.5.
So it's Hart and the 47 NOLA Sport car, provisional pole over Lea Fouge, and the number 19 Cameron Racing BMW. Then the 51 Panos of Keegan third, the 38 ST Racing BMW of Wolf in fourth, the 34 Mercedes from Murillo Racing of Murillo in the 5th spot.
Kevin Woods leading the West Amateur Division.
In the 6th spot, the 67.
Jared Andretti, a 47.4, so not quite sure if he was able to regroup fully from that little early spin in the session.
Pretty impressive, though, at this stage, Cal. You take a look in the top 5 overall, 5 different manufacturers.
That's a good one.
Yeah, some solid parity. And there are some fast pairings that just didn't quite get it right here.
John Allen finishes this qualifying session. Yeah, nice job.
Yep.
Just improved on his previous best. So
finished
it all up, and every lap seemed to get a little bit better, and that's what it's about at this stage of his learning curve.
Yeah, not a driver who's been doing this a long time, and well, I'll tell you, paired up with Chris Wilson, that's pretty huge. But there it is. After that incident-induced little stumble at CTMP, the 47 back on top once again. Travis and Hart, great lap at a 1:46.298. The Quinlan Lea Fouge pairing, and then Calvert and Keegan third. Samantha Tan and Jason Wolf in the ST Racing BMW fourth, and Shimshak and Murillo Racing Mercedes in the fifth spot. And I don't think we've seen the last of Paloma and Woods. You just get this feeling that they both have experience at this track. Woods is just really, really fast. And you look, Miller Gottsacker, Bert Kozarov back in the mix. I mean, some very fast driver pairings.
Well, for Kevin Woods, he put a lap time in within 8/10 of Greg Leopouche, so that's a really, really solid performance.
Yes.
Greg's one of the best.
Absolutely. So, Pirelli GT4 America Sprint X joint qualifying is complete. Once again, we're going to have just a little bit of a break here. Then we'll be back with touring car R, TCR, and TCA qualifying from here at Sonoma Raceway. And then right about 10:45, it's the big boys, the Blancpain GT World Challenge America GT3 machines taking the track for their qualifying session. Don't go too far away.